Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of my boss mode walkthrough series. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Beastial Maw, which is the legendary dungeon on Boss Island. It is the current green one that is up right now. It is also one of the single most difficult dungeons in the game, in my opinion, because of the various mechanics. Both of the sets of bosses are pretty tough, and we have fast enemies to deal with as well, which makes this one particularly difficult. So I've been workshopping a couple of different teams. There's some decent furnace teams out there that can kind of soak the damage. But ultimately, it's going to rely on you to have some good fast heroes to kill the bats. So a lot of times it relies on you to have both Indigo for energy generation as well as Masuda Kira. And then after that, you would have Dagran and Furnace. That one tends to work pretty well. I tend to see guys getting killed every now and then if I can't kill all of the bats or if somebody goes on a rampage. There's a lot of different ways for you to die in this dungeon. So I've been looking for a team that is a little bit more reliable. I think I have a decent one so far. It is going to require that you have some decent runes. You don't have to have spectacular runes, but you should have some decent runes. And also, obviously, you have to have the heroes in question as well. So the team that I've been running, we see that we're going against green and red, which basically tells us we should be using red against green and blue against red. Makes sense. So we're going to split our team in two reds, two blues. We're going to be using Torchy and Yasmin, Grognog, and Pygneus. So notice all of these guys are 6 stars for me, which is definitely a big help. As far as epics go, Torchy is epic level 11, Yasmin is epic level 12. These are very critical components to this. If you don't have high epics on either of these two, this one might end up being a little bit out of reach. Although when I've been running it, Torchy's epic has not been triggering near as much as I expected to, and Yasmin's is right around that 30%, but it seems like when you really need it, it's not there. And then Grognog is just kind of there. And Pygneus, or not Grognog, Pygneus is just kind of there. Grognog is going to be your other damage dealer. So I'll show the runes that I have afterwards, but basically I'm banking heavily on epics for this one, as well as Pygneus to have his Hog Wild attack. That's the big component here, because Torchy and Grognog are both beasts. They're both going to benefit from that Hog Wild. So the reason I bring Yasmin and not another beast is she's going to be hopefully doing her epic and cleansing the team. She's kind of paramount to this team here. Much like if you ran the undead team, you have to have Yorick maxed out with his epic. It's just very, very critical. So as far as epics go, Yasmin's should be on top of the list, right up there with Yorick. I don't see anybody that's more pressing at this time than those two, just because they're so valuable to the teams that they run. Now, as far as the potions go, you won't be needing to do a ton of skills per se. There's going to be a lot of actual basic attacks. I will be using skills with Grognog because he has AoEs, and his skills just hit harder. So I'm going to take actually 1 energy potion, and in the event that awful things happen, I'm actually going to bring some revive potions as well. So this team that I've run, I've gotten by without dying pretty much every time that I've run it. However, that's not always the case when I want to do live recordings like this. So let's go ahead and jump right in. If you are runed decently and you have decent epics for Torchy and Yasmin, the damage is moderate. It's not that bad as far as if you were to bring Cobalt, for example. Cobalt can barely take a hit from any of the bats to start with. So the nice thing about Torchy is he has basically a room clearing epic if it triggers. The bad thing about this dungeon is if you get some horrible RNG. I've opened up in this first room already with 4 bats, and that is awful because you just can't handle it. Pretty much only Kira's going to be the only one that can help you there. In this case here, Torchy can easily take care of the green bat. Now the other thing you have to know about this dungeon, you are going to get burned, you are going to get poisoned. That's the whole reason we have Yasmin around. You have to hope that she cleanses. So Torchy attacks, does a hog wild, kills it, gets poisoned. No problems there. So now it's just a matter of watching Yasmin do her thing. And then we have Grognog do his thing. Nice thing about Grognog, I got him runed towards attack. I think a lot of people are doing that. But actually, I don't have him exclusively attack. I just kind of threw the best of the remaining runes that I have on. But his Snow Day attack, even with elemental disadvantage, does wonders against green. That's part of why I have him on here, in addition to his double basic attack to start with. But he killed the one wolf. That's good. And so now we just pick which one to kill. When it comes to kill order, here's my suggestion. Anything that looks like a Jabberjaw or like one of these guys on the bottom, kill them, because they have a rampaging attack that could hit more than one person. So you want them to just do single target attacks so that if somebody does die, or if you're taunting with Pygneus, they go just for that person. So I'm going to kill this guy. And down he goes. Now my Pygneus does not have great runes, so that wasn't some wonder shot that I did there. So just to keep that in mind. But those Jabberjaw beast guys, they can do the rampage attack, which can kind of suck. But like I said, with decent epics and moderate runes, they can usually soak the damage pretty good. So again, we only have one bat, which is good. So we're just going to keep doing basic attacks. And we'll see how many times the epic actually triggers. And so far it's 0 for 2 for Torchy, and actually 2 for 2 for Yasmin. So I'm liking that so far. And then, like I said, we can either use the AoE attack here, his strike skill, or we can just use his basic attack. Just to show you the defense, unless he hog wilds, I'll just do basic attack to start with. And we'll go ahead and kill this guy just so we guarantee a kill. So elemental advantage there. He barely even touched Grognog, which is good. Alright, round 3 for Torchy. 0 for 3 in terms of epics. Yasmin 2 for 3 in terms of epics. And just one little quick kill here. So a lot of people, regardless of the team that they actually bring, can get through these first couple of stages pretty easily. And it should be no exception, even if you don't have the best of heroes. If you have a decent furnace defense, you can probably get through there. There we go. So 4 attacks for Torchy, and we get our first epic. Like I said, it can basically be room clearing, except for when they dodge it, which is convenient for him, I guess. Alright. Wow, shifty little bugger. Okay, so the first boss fight. This is usually where people run into a problem when they first start here. Whether you're running an undead team or a furnace team, usually this is where things get a little bit ugly. They are pretty stacked as far as defenses go. There's not much you can do about them. So basically it's just a matter of going at it. Attack them as best as you can. So Torchy, we're going to light up Torchy's cousin there. And really all you can hope for is that your Torchy is stacked pretty well. So we'll just do some basic attacks on this guy here. And actually now at this point, we'll probably use Snow Day, just because it's going to give me the Snow Day buff. And now when we do Taunt, notice it's going to cleanse a debuff. So it's going to remove the poison from both of them. That is the nice thing about Snow Day. And this guy here can't really do much. He's got an elemental disadvantage, and he's not really going to get another turn, or at least he shouldn't. Didn't do a hog wild, but I guess that's okay. What I usually do here then is I will save one hit for Pygneus. Alright. Grognog does his thing. And now we get the Beastial Roar. Beastial Roar is pretty awesome as far as beasts go. Problem is, most people don't use Pygneus that much, and so it really doesn't get used very often. I'm kind of hoping for a little bit more solid of a beast team. We obviously don't have a beast healer. If there's a beast healer, there's a lot of great beast teams that we can actually run here. Alright, so I'm just going to focus on this lower beast guy because he's the one that can rampage. And we're not seeing any troubles now. Now, if you have a heavily defensive version of this team, I've tested out auto running, and auto running was successful up to about the mini boss. I can't really count on auto run to handle that, but I have been able to get through several rooms at a time without any type of intervention. There we go, Torchy, nice little epic there. But the reason I picked this team is not for auto running, but for reliability. And the only real strike against us that we have here is the possible attacks against Pygneus if they really pile them on. We're usually in a good enough place where we can clear the room before they do too much damage. Alright, so we're going to use our strike ability here. Takes care of just about everybody. Nice little hog wild to wrap things up. So now we are down to the second set of bosses, which are the red bosses. So these guys, they hit harder, but they're not any more difficult. If you have a furnace team, it can be a little bit more difficult because the red increases pressure, and it can be tough to hang in there over the long run. The thing that we need to note here is these guys take no damage from fire attacks. That is a big deal because if Torchy epics, that is not a good thing. So no damage from fire. These guys also have boss burn, which is no joke. If you're familiar with boss poison, boss frostbite, boss burn, those things are kind of the real deal. So we're just going to do a basic attack here. Hopefully it doesn't epic, which it did. We're going to get a whole bunch of zeros here. I guess it hit a little bit, but it is a fire-based attack. It doesn't do a ton. So let's snow day these guys. Does good damage. And so now we'll try and hit this tank here. The nice thing about these bosses here, if you use Cobalt, if you have the plus damage to tank runes, they can be pretty amazing. So we lost Torchy there, which doesn't happen that often. I'm going to bring him back because he's just amazing. So hoping for some epic. That helped us quite a bit. And I'm going to use this one here to make sure he doesn't actually do his epic. But apparently that was a fire attack. I guess I wasn't even paying attention there. Alright, so basic attack. And he got a hog wild, which is why there's 4 of them. So I'm going to use this one here again because of the cleanse. And because I want to make sure I save the other guys. In the scope of thing, Pygneus is the least important to this team here. So I'll use Revive here just to show that you can get a 3-star on this one. Alright, so this is physical. Oh, it was a melee fire bite. I saw melee and assumed that it wasn't fire, but this one here is a physical chomping attack, so I know I can't silence him, but didn't kill him either. That's really something. These guys are making me look amateurish, but we finally get them taken down. So we beat it in just under 15 minutes, probably like 12 minutes or so we beat this in. So the rune we get, nice little green one, probably garbage, but you never really do know. I've never gotten more than a 3-star, and I've never gotten anything even close to rare here. Superior power room, decent. Alright, so I'll show you what these guys look like so that you can compare to see if it's doable for you. I think as far as runes go, you can look at Yasmin, very underwhelming. Yasmin's saving grace is her epic, which is maxed out. Way extra defense and 20% extra health. Runes though, like I said, just basic stuff. Soul Stealer, Life. Nothing even really specialized. A lot of resistances. Reduction from fire. It's an even improved, so I mean it's nothing great. Torchy, again, has one legendary. He's got some decent attack on him because I use him for PvP. So his are going to be a little bit better. Power Rune, Battle Rune, Battle Rune, Legendary with Lifesteal, that's a good one. And a Vampiric with Lifesteal, so those are some pretty good ones there. His epic, oh, I stand corrected, he's level 10. I was going to put him to level 11 tonight, but I didn't get the rest of those little mats yet. So he'll be 11 before I go to bed, but he's still stuck at 10 for now. Alright, next up is probably going to be Grognog. I put some better runes on him recently because I've been using him as an auto run team on Lava Academy. So he does have some decent stuff. But notice this is a focus rune. It's just skill and dodge. I mean, that's nothing great. Skill, defense, so no extra attack there. Attack, damage, attack. That's probably the best rune, actually. Crit, attack. Okay, this one here is pretty good. And then attack, health, skill. So nothing completely overwhelming. If you really want to run this dungeon and you had better runes to put on these guys, I think you'll probably fare a little bit better than I did in some of them. And then lastly, and I must have missed him. Little Piggy, no runes at all. So I guess put any runes on him and he'll fare better. And honestly, he did just fine. Even that couple of turns when he taunted, he still soaked the damage for the most part, except for on the boss fight, really. So he's really only there for support, for the Hog Wild attack, and the occasional Beastial Roar, if you can get that in there. So obviously there's plenty of room for improvement for the team that I'm using, but like I said, I've not been able to not beat this one so far with this team. It's been successful. Occasionally I'll use a revive potion like you saw, but it's overall a very reliable team. So it is going to hinge on you having those epics, like I said, as well as probably a decent Grognog as well, which I know some people just don't have a decent Grognog because they didn't spend a lot of money over the Christmas event. I will be the first to admit that I did pour a bunch of money into that because I thought he looked cool. So I, obviously have him higher. So if you have any other team suggestions that you would like me to run, I can certainly workshop a couple of them. If you feel like you have a better team, I will also post your teams as well. And we'll get those out there for everyone else to see, assuming that you want to actually share. So other questions, comments, and concerns, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, stick around and we will have more for you tomorrow. Thanks.